Part 1, Question 3, Article 6, whether in God there are any accidents. First, a quick reminder about how that word accident is being used here. These are not traffic accidents or unintended effects or mistakes or whoops. The term is being used philosophically. A thing has essence and accidents. Man is the rational animal. That's the essence. A man could be tall or thin or short or old or painted green or missing a finger or wearing a hat. Those would be accidents. They would help you identify a particular person, but they don't have anything to do with the definition of man. A triangle is a plane figure with 3 straight sides. That's the essence or definition. Triangles themselves can be tall or wide or green. So another way of forming this article could be, does God have any non-essential qualities? And that's related to question 9, article 1, whether God changes, and we'll get to that. Right now, however, are there any accidents in God? The short answer is no. We'll quote the said contra in full. Every accident is in a subject, but God cannot be a subject, for, quote, no simple form can be a subject, as Boethius says. Therefore, in God there cannot be any accident. That is dense stuff, and I am not pretending to be an expert, but here's how I unpack that text. Quote, God cannot be a subject, ... to a comparison. Tall, thin, old, and green are all comparative terms, comparisons within a genus. A tall blade of grass, a short tree. Those things only make sense within a genus, and God, as we saw in the previous article, is not in any genus. But God has wisdom and virtue. Aren't those examples of accidents? A wise man versus a foolish man, they're both men, so those would be accidents. Objection 2. God must have accidents, and these accidents, these non-essential beings, are the beginnings of our genera. That might seem like a stretch, and it also might seem like pantheism, but what's the alternative? Otherwise, our genera in this world would have to be essential. Thomas answers by returning to his definition of God as the first cause, as pure act. Quote, what is essential is prior to what is accidental, whence as God is absolute primal being, there can be in him nothing accidental. In other words, if it is an accident, it is not God. Thomas continues, neither can God have essential accidents, that's intrinsic qualities, as the capability of laughing is an essential accident in man, because such accidents are caused by constituent principles of the subject. Now there can be nothing caused in God, since he is the first cause. Hence it follows that there are no accidents in God. Reply to objection 1. Virtue and wisdom don't mean the same thing when we talk about the wisdom of God and the wisdom of a man. Hence it does not follow that there are accidents in God as there are in us. Reply to objection 2. God is first, but not first within each genus. God is beyond all genera. You can have a contingent, a non-essential first thing in a contingent non-essential genera. That would be okay. And there is no need to trace back each genera to God directly, to God in that way. God is, of course, the first cause of all things, but he acts through secondary causes. Thomas is taking a radical position on the simplicity, on the essence and existence of God, taking extreme positions on God, and thereby able to maintain an intermediate position on the rest of the created universe. So no, there are no accidents in God. And forgive me, but I wanted to say one more thing about the wisdom of God versus the wisdom of a wise man. Thomas says that those terms are not used univocally, which means they're not used exactly in the same way. When we talk about the wisdom of God, we're talking about what we observe from the effects of God. When you talk about a wise man, consider this. A wise man is put, horrible to think about, but put in solitary confinement, still a wise man with wisdom in his mind and in his person, sitting but unable to do anything in solitary confinement in that jail cell. You see the difference here. Wisdom is more an internal state of that man's soul, versus when we talk about the wisdom of God, we talk about what we experience based purely on his effects, on his creation.